Welcome back to this last session of our talk show. The point, and the point indeed means the point. We are dealing with the science and technology that Ugandans need for socio-economic welfare. Honorable, over to you again to continue from where you had reached.
Yeah, I was just making a point that if we want to transform the rural side, indeed science and technology must be an integral part of the Paris development model, and there must be clear funding mechanisms for that in the various Parises. And that also means putting in place systems that, keep track, document, and report on issues of science and technology in the rural areas. And for that to also work, we must be mindful that the right infrastructure, the enabling environment must be in those communities, which is something I've not seen. I therefore wish the planners, the proposers of this development model should interest themselves in things like that to ensure applicability of science and technology even in those communities to solve ordinary persons' problems. Of course, all this will come with costs. And finding the money for this means we should be able to collect more taxes. We must rationalize our expenditure, do away with waste, and prioritize.
So did the Paris development model bring in that element? Because I remember I had a talk, I had a guest here, we were discussing the same, and one of the input, that was Professor Augustin Nwagaba, and we're looking at how the Paris model should have considered to be innovative in a manner that will ensure that at a family, at a household level, there is a deliberate move to support productivity. And yet, the design of the Paris development model seems not to be feeding into the ultimate goal. I understand what it intends to achieve, but yet of having a country which is improving in productivity and export. Productivity, export, that leads us to, of course, have improved the GDP. What seems to be lacking, as you were among the members of parliament who are doing the sensitization of this program? I know you are not the framer, you are not the designer of the program, but we can still improve it to be the better one.
Yeah, I think there's room for improvement, and that can only be possible if we expose this program to public scrutiny and take feedback in its implementation. If it's going to be a matter of, this is my design, it works for the country. If it's an imposed solution, certainly, of course, it is not going to work for the country. I would expect, of course, this to be aligned to our Vision 240. It should be aligned to NDP 3. We all know the other development frameworks did not achieve much. That's why we are still in the debate of whether Uganda'S there or it's still a low-income country. Some countries link such models to the overall goal. You just mentioned if the strategy is like export-orientedness, that we should be able to transform our agricultural sector and ensure production, value addition for export, then that should be seen to be done at the smallest level, which is the Paris, and the resources to do that must be provided. The capacity to achieve that must be built. which is what I'm querying. Is that already integrated in the Paris development model? I'm saying I've not seen it, and it's the appeal we are making to framers of the model, because we are saying now science and technology works. So if it works, what science or technology will be applicable for a particular Paris to lift them out of poverty, as we want to believe. How shall a Paris A differ from Paris B in uptake of this technology? What is needed in these places? I did say some areas are hard to reach. They will need some specific innovations or technological interventions. Some areas have very difficult environment.
Let me ask you a live question, practical one. If we went to Maracha County, you are speaking even to the people of Maracha right now.
Right.
Yes. What is that could be relevant to make a socioeconomic transformation, and suppose money wasn't, put into small units, and you say for us Maracha County, if we have maybe factor A and B in dealing with this, it will make us better and will improve productivity in this. What's that may be trying to copy up a model kind of approach? What's that could work for Maracha County?
Of course, Maracha people are agriculturalists. They produce potatoes, cassava. I would expect that any application, of course, now food crops are also cash crops.
There are those which are for, okay,
understand. Food crops are now cash crops.
Understand.
As long as you can
add value.
I
agree.
You should be able to make money out of it. If we can process cassava and you get high quality cassava flour, which may be needed by breweries, that should be able to put money in people's pockets.
Export to China.
If from our potatoes we can do maybe chips,
receipts and so forth,
produce other products, I'm sure you would be able to put money in people's pockets. But as you rightly observe, can this be done at Paris level? Or for economies of scale, you would want to do this maybe at a sub-county level or at a district level, where each smallholder and then feeds into such factory or scientific innovation intended to solve that. And this is where people become important in outlining their priorities and saying what needs to be done. Otherwise, you are going to impose. Of course, those are some of the issues. Is there power? If there's no power, as it is the case, we would expect that power should be able to reach various communities. If the people are going to get access to market information, do they have the networks?
The networks, right?
Do they have the equipments, the ICT equipments that can facilitate that? Do they have the skills? Have you skilled some of their people in those areas? So is there going to be funding for all these? Right now, Paris gets like 70 million. What can last financial year, I think some of our Parises got 70 million.
And now they are going to get 100 out
of course, the 100 is for the financial inclusion component, which that may not be able to address these issues we are talking about. So there's really need to think through what works for the country.
As we conclude, what I understand very well, you came prepared to tell us the science and technology finally that Uganda needs, and that will make our night. You come once again.
Science and technology is quite a broad discipline. You can only focus and sieve those that are critical for your progress. I think for Uganda, we will need to emphasize computer science, issues around communications, because that's where the service economy is moving and is dependent on computer technologies and communications technologies. We need agricultural science because we are an agricultural country. We should be able to transform our agriculture into a more productive one, and there's science around that. I see some people propose we should go into space science, maybe for our security.
Nuclear.
We need nuclear energy. We can promote it, but I'm sure we can tap into other renewable energy, because to develop nuclear energy may be costly. So the kind of science we focus on must also rhyme with our ability to afford. We cannot be dreaming again excessively big when we cannot invest.
But the other day,
the advantage is with the science and technology, you can actually leapfrog and get to where others are. But I emphasize the partnership.
Yes.
So I would be more interested in science which can help us reduce corruption. Science and technology that can help us, because that is an endemic problem.
We go to e-governance.
In our country, of course, it goes back to e-governance and computer science. I would want to look at science that can help us take advantage of our mineral resources. If the science can help us become producers by processing our goods here, that means science which is relevant for industrialization, for creation of jobs. These are our problems as a country. I would also want to see science that is not risky, technologies that are not risky for the country. For example, some people have been
does not create a virus,
advancing issues of genetically modified organisms.
It is, yes, and even with the bill, I understand there's a bill with the parliamentary floor.
In some places, such can actually result into weapons biological weapons.
Do you support that bill?
I was a member of the committee when that bill was brought. There were issues I fundamentally disagreed with, because I also said science and technology has its side. It's not that everything about science and technology is panacea as it seems to
be blessed.
For example, if someone is going to invent a product that terminates the existence of other products. So if it's a crop and it's now stopping other crops from reproducing. And yet in this country, in Africa, we have lived for more than 2,000 years through inheriting seeds from our grandparents.
That's true.
It means you are going to get into a situation of food colony. You will always have to buy seeds from people who patent those technologies.
Mangoes.
You see? So that may not be able to work for the country. Science which endangers our environment and presents risks to the country without any mitigation measures is not science and technology that works for the
those are recommendations
for the country. So in the nutshell, science is something we need. We need technology that works for the people, but we must be mindful that if poorly applied, if applied without safety measures, without proper regulation, you can actually have a situation where the particular scientific and technological innovation becomes a liability for the country.
So the biosafety bill seems to be very much important in the midst of this, process of of improving the science and technology by safety bill. You are conversant.
Yeah, because there are people who are going to engage in biotechnology. Mm-hmm. And biotechnology is an area which the promoters claim has some advantages, and those who are against it urge you it will cost Uganda more to have such a technology.
Which one is more prominent in your view? In your view, which one is more prominent for us either maybe to also believe in?
I think both arguments appeal. Mm-hmm. That's why there was a need for regulation that deals with the specifics of the issues being raised. Mm-hmm. And the president was actually right to agree with some of us that there were issues in the bill that should have been addressed. And when they were not addressed, I think he did not sign and endorse it into a law. Even when Parliament passed it, it was returned. And since then, it looks like it has not moved forward.
So it needs to consider all those views.
So maybe there's need for further discussion and engagement with the wider public on its effects and opportunities offered by what the science seeks to advance. Yes. Most importantly, we need to finance. We cannot talk of science without providing the enabling environment, the tools for the scientists to invent, for the scientists to do their work, and we need to honor their work. The scientific community needs to be honored, and you can do that by having research funds.
Research
that people who demonstrate that they can do things to solve our nation's problem.
You've talked about research, and that would be our conclusive central point as we close our program. I do appeal to you. There is a lot needed to be done to support, especially research in the area of medical. Our improved traditional, the medical associations, medical herbalist associations, which are registered and doing a good work, including basically the innovation which Professor Musenero, is it Professor Musenero, the one of Mbarara Science and Technology. It looks to be we're having potential persons both in the elite class and those who are not necessarily educated, but they know how to make their herbal medicine. Herbal medicinal, yeah, right? And which seems, if we adopted it, we look at some of the Asian countries exporting, like China, the herbal medicine into our country, and we seem not to be tapping into that opportunity. Don't you think there is a need to emphasize government to support this?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important, and that also has to be regulated. There's a tendency to think that science should only be in English. If it's in English, it is more scientific, or it is technology. Yes. There's also indigenous knowledge
of science,
which must be promoted. I agree with you. There are people in our villages, they know various plant substances that they use
this and that without anything
for treating.
Yes.
And when the whites came, they demonized such people, call them witch doctors, and we've been, we've been lured into hating our own products, which is wrong. I think we need to change our mindset on some of those things.
Thank you.
But just like any other scientific invention, they can have downsides. They could be dangerous. That's why there are issues around safety.
Yes.
And it's where the regulation comes in. But I want to say there's a lot of science and scientific innovation going on in the countryside, in the rural sides, even by people who do not necessarily speak English.
Yes.
But all that must be documented and promoted by the government.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you make it for people who can speak English, if you limit it to some group of people, you will not be able to achieve what works for the country.
You can conclude as we just close our program.
Dear viewers, it has been nice having you. We thought science and technology are what the country needs to move forward, but this should not be promoted in a very discriminatory way to make other people who are not necessarily scientists to be looked down upon. We need to coexist. Most importantly, government should prioritize these issues.
Thank you.
All the waste must be redirected. And I want to implore my colleagues who sit in parliament, who have an opportunity to make decisions for the country, to at least focus on some of these issues. Most critical, there must be an enabling environment for
Thank you.
all the scientists and technologists to thrive.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Honorable Oguzuli Dennis, the MP Maracha County, and his FDC, and above all, he supports science and technology. And on all this, our discussion, we aimed at ensuring we improve the economic lives of the people by analyzing the economic policies that can make a change. Together with you outside there and others, the stakeholders, we can make it. Good night. Until I see you next time. God bless you.
Bye.